here who's in the trades, and his particular trade is in welding. So I just have well, 9 questions. I'm going to say a few questions, but I actually have 9 questions for you, Murray, about your particular
Yep.
trade. The first one is, in a June 2019 report conducted by MFNERC, there were 47% of our First Nation students said that they wanted a job after high school in a trade. So can you tell me in general about your trade and what you do in this particular job?
My trade in general, I'm a welder, and it was in demand for like 20 years ago when I got into it. It was really, really in demand. They wanted welders like everywhere in Canada. And over the year, like in different, particularly in big industries like mining, like back then there was a boom there in Fort McMurray, Alberta, for one thing. But then there's always shops too in the cities, like here. Like I got involved in a shop here 20 years ago, and I've been there ever since. And it's a really good trade, I found. It's very interesting, because the thing is about welding is there's no one particular I guess technique of welding. There's like all kinds. Like even in my 20 years, I'm still learning, and I'm trying to get into, because of COVID, I've been laid off. But I'm trying to get into another company, and I've been there, and on the tests there, they showed me things that I didn't even know. So there's always something to learn about welding in this, and I've grown to like it. I've been doing it for 20 years, and to me, it's a good trade, really.
Oh, that's awesome. In 20 years experience, that's a lot. Plus, it sounds like you're willing to, or able to travel with this trade and take it wherever you want to go, really.
Absolutely. The younger guys like to travel too, though. Like I'm older, so I don't like to travel much. I like to stick together. I like to stick with my grandkids. So I don't, maybe it was 30 years ago or 20 years ago, even for that matter, if I had a chance, I would have went for it. But, it's a good thing for staying in the city too with.
Yeah. And it sounds like there's a lot of growth in the trade with regards to learning the technical skills of it.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. There's always something to learn.
Awesome. So moving on to the next question. Do you need an education for your trade? And if so, how much education is required?
Education always helps, no matter what you do nowadays. Like when I went to how I started into welding, I went to South Winnipeg Technical College. That's what the name was at the time, in 1999. Yeah, I was there, and that was part of my education. But before I got into there, because I was a high school dropout, I had to go to upgrading to get into this school. And at that time, you needed at least a grade 11. So I got my grade 11. Anything more than grade 11 is beauty. But nowadays, they want you to graduate from high school for anything. I almost got a job for while I was at Northern Blower, the company I worked for. I was trying to get into CN, which they have good, good salaries there and good, whatever, eh? But so I get a phone call from CN, and they asked me if I had a grade 12, and I said no, and they promptly told me that, I'm sorry, but you need a grade 12. So I think nowadays is a new thing. Like no matter what you do in life, it's just you need that grade 12 for starters. So, but I did get it just enough education for my trade at the time that was required. So maybe if I was to go back to that same school to get in there, you'd need a grade 12. I don't know. But yeah, you do need a somewhat of an education for sure. I'll have to say that.
Yeah, and I know even with welding, you can do it at Red River College and MITT and other affiliated schools in Manitoba as well.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next question. What is the salary range for your trade? Now, I know a lot of students might want to know this one because that's the money kind of says a lot for the jobs that they want to do in the future.
Salaries vary, it depends where you got, like for me, my salary isn't way up there. It's adequate, but it's not great. Like the the better salaries are in the field work, like in the oil rigs, if you can find them nowadays. Like I said, they're not as plentiful like they used to be. But there is, yeah, there's better salaries out there than what I'm making. Like I don't make not bad. Uh, 50, just over 50,000 a year. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. But it's not bad. But it can be better. Like I said, if you're a little younger and if you got a little more energy, like and in welding, you know, shoot for a job at CN or CP, or like get your grade 12 once again and get into those, because they have good salaries and they have good pensions and everything. But you have to be educated to get in there. As far as the salary goes, it's just I'm trying to get into another company that pays me a little better than where I was for the last 20 years. Not much better once again, but it's adequate. Right? Like there's welding jobs in the city of Winnipeg that are adequate, like I said, but you do have to look around and be adventurous. And if you are enthusiastic and all that combination, you will find a good salary paying job for sure.
Well, it's definitely, you know, people can definitely live off of 50,000. It's not low income status, but it's not high income status. I would say it's probably middle class kind of status
Yeah,
for
yeah,
income.
I like to say it's adequate.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next question. Please describe a typical day for you at work.
Typical day for me at the company where I worked with is typical days. Like I had my own work area, and I loved it. You know, like I can go in there, I can work at my own pace. I can gather up what I have in store for me for the rest of the day, for the whole day. And that's what I normally did. It was just like a routine after a while. And I would, like I said, I would grab a list of things. They give you these lists of things to do, and kind of, and that was it. That was basically it. It was like I was there for a while. It just became routine, and then that was, and then of course converse with my with the my working partners there once in a while, and just that's about it. Yeah, it was just after a while, you're at a same company for a while, like it's just everything's like routine, and you come in there and you just do the same thing day in and day out. But it wasn't the same thing every day too, which would makes it a little less monotonous, because if you're doing the same thing every day, it gets really monotonous. But like there was a lot of variety of where I worked, and it just like, and I didn't have to like rush. They really encouraged not to rush. Just take your time, and I knew all that stuff after a while. Like, you know, like I said, you know, like I got in, like I was in this company, and I still am basically. You know, if they ever get busy again. But yeah, that's it.
Well, with 20 years of experience, Murray, I'm sure it does seem
Yeah,
routine and just something you do, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
After the end of the day, some days I'm sure you're tired though.
Not necessarily, you know, like we had long days, so like we had sometimes we encouraged each other just to work overtime, and like when it's busy, it's busy. Like there was nothing when it was really busy. There was nothing to work 10 hours a day and work on Saturdays. I kind of miss those days now. Really, I do. It's me sitting here doing nothing.
Yeah.
Start crying.
Well, it's good for students to know that, you know, what, depending on the company, it can depend on how busy it gets, where the company might require that you work overtime and some
Yeah,
weekends as well. But again,
yeah.
the pay will reflect that extra time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, Mary, moving on to the next question. Are there certain trades more in demand than other trades that you're currently aware of?
There's a lot of good trades out there if you really think about it. Like there's welding. Like I got welding friends, electricians. There's a lot of demand for electricians, and they pay better than welders, I might add. But I got a couple of friends of mine that are electricians, and but for the young folks out there, you know, like it's just like get into like a even refrigeration is a good trade. stuff with your hands are like, are really good trades. Like it's just, people like it, like young people like it too, young guys and young girls too. And I guess a trade would be, another one would be considered as trucking. But that's something I was not into, but there are a lot of big demand for truckers nowadays. And that's, all these trades are, you must be dedicated though, because there's some of them have long hours. And but in the long run, they sure like, they sure pay off. Like, like my trade is kind of paid off too. It's like the fact that I always have a job, you know. Mind you, COVID has slowed that rate down, but hopefully, like that's life. But hopefully, it gets back to normal soon. And it is in some ways. But yeah, those are good trades, like a welding, just to name a few. Actually, there's probably more: welding, electricians, refrigeration. There's trucking. But you always got to start at the low, like, and find out where and what you need to know and what you need, like the education and everything, and just go for it. Just pick your trade, go for it. That's basically what I did. I figured, okay, like when it came to welding, I just, okay, yeah, I'm going to go for that. I like welding. And that was it. And it kind of stuck. So, yeah.
Well, it sounds I heard two things when in that answer, and one of them is that you meet a whole bunch of different people in welding and possibly lots of different trades as well to be aware of and have those connections and friendships. And the second thing is, you know what? Welding is not just a male oriented um, job. A female can do it too. So there's a shout out for all the
Oh, absolutely.
females listening to this
Absolutely.
video.
Yeah. There wasn't too many females at my old company, but this new one that I went and applied for, there was lots. There's lots of female welders there. Well, not like lots, is like 2 or 3, but that's pretty good for a welding shop.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, moving on to the next question. Will I earn money while I'm getting education for my trade? For example, if there is like a red seal or anything of that nature?
Through my experience, I did earn money, but I had to be like, I was in the practicum part of it. Like I was working there at the time of my training, and I was getting paid like for the training, not necessarily for being at the job site. But yeah, in the end, you get paid. And I went to my work practicum there, and then that's where I stayed. So like I was getting paid, but you don't get paid until, like, of course your training is paying you though, not the company right away. They start paying you like once they hire you, if they hire you full time. But yeah, like that's like, for my experience anyway, that's all I know. That's
Yeah.
how I got paid.
And I believe too, with one thing you brought up there just briefly was after your training, the demand usually to get a job afterwards is usually pretty high. So that's something to keep in mind, students who are listening to this video. All right, moving on to the next question. If I pick one trade like welding and I don't like welding after I started doing it, can I switch trades?
Absolutely, why not? Like I think if I was younger, I hate to give my age all the time, give that excuse, but oh yeah, absolutely. Like if you're a welder and you decide you don't want to do welding, maybe it's not interesting enough or whatever, why not switch over to be an electrician? Like maybe it's a little more interesting or whatever. Yeah, why not?
All right, students, so don't feel that you need to stay with one trade for the rest of your life. You could definitely switch trades, as what Murray is sharing, and has probably seen it in his career happen with numerous people. What's the difference between a union job versus a non-union job?
Oh, and that's quite easily a non-union job. You can get fired quite easy. That's the difference. Union jobs, they can save your bacon over and over again. I've seen it. I've seen it like many times, where these guys, for whatever reason, they were being looked at and considered for being fired, and the union saves their butts. That's basically what it's for. There's all other kinds of issues the unions help you with, but when you're in a non-union, there's no debate over anything. If you're in a company that has like I said, no union, if you screw with them, you're gone just like that, and there's no debate over it. But I've seen it many times where people get in trouble, like at my union job there, and I never had to get union involved, but thank God. But yeah, these they just go, oh, I'm going to the union, and they go to the union and they get saved, whatever. So that's.
So which one would you prefer, Murray, a union job or a non-union job for welding?
I'm comfortable with a union job. I really am. I just, people can fire you for in a non-union job if they just don't like you. But if you're in a union, they can't do that. You know, they can't do that for just because they don't like you, you know, kind of thing or whatever. They have to have a huge excuse to fire you. Let's put it that way. But non-union companies, like I said, you know, they can just pick on you if they want. And I never used to like unions. But I wasn't used to them at the time in the beginning. But yeah, they're quite beneficial to each individual for your job security, for one thing. You know, that's what I like about unions, is job security. You know, like the company I'm going into, like I'd like to go into, I'm thinking about it. They're still thinking about hiring me, but anyway, they're a union. I thank God they're union too, because they mentioned it. Oh, that's good. They said they were a union. When I was in an interview, they mentioned that they were in the union. I said, oh, okay, that's good. So yeah, I like.
Sorry to cut you off. I know some union jobs, they do, well, actually all union jobs, they do take a nominal fee off your paycheck for their services, but what you're saying, it's worth the fee to be part of the union.
Yeah, I find so, yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question, and this is our last question. If I want to learn a trade, what is the best way to get started? Is there anything I can do now in high school to help enter in the trades?
Best way to learn, if you know anybody in whatever trade you're doing, ask them to train you a bit and give you a feel of it. And that's where you start. And then you got to seek the education for it. You got to go, like, which school do you go to? Like, how much education? But it'd be nice to, yeah, like I said, be nice to have somebody that you know that actually knows the trade, so that you can get the feel of it first, and then decide if you want to go for it. Let's say, well, you may go down all the lists. You may go, oh, I don't like welding. You know, I don't like electricians. You know, I don't like trucking, or I don't like refrigeration. But then you may like find out that you actually do like one of them, and just take it from there, and then seek out what kind of education you need for this. Training education is more or less what it is. Yeah, that's important.
Remember, students, Murray has 20 years of experience, so this advice might be worthwhile taking advantage of and to heart.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to thank you, Murray, but before we leave, let's give a big shout out. What reserve are you initially from?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Long Plain.
All right, so big shout out to Long Plains and where Murray's from. Thank you, Murray from Long Plains, for having this interview. And I know we had some technical difficulty to start, but
yeah,
we did get there, and it was successful. I really think so.
Oh, one other thing.
Yep.
I'm a Leafs fan.
Well, they need to start doing better to get more fans, but at least you're in their corner, so that's good. And students, stay tuned for more videos to come.